we just chat. We just
Okay.
talk and have fun and
Yeah,
learn more about the tarot. And well, cool. Alrighty. So, the way that the way that I generally do these interviews is
sure.
that I'll run over a few little things with you right up
Okay.
front before, because I'll edit this part out, at least on my end.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
All right.
and at first, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your last name correctly.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. It's
So,
Petishi.
Petit, say it one more time.
Petishi. Petishi.
Petishi.
Yes,
Okay.
Petishi.
Petishi. Okay.
Petishi. Like Petishi.
Petishi. All
Right.
right. Just want to make sure I pronounce that right when I
Uh,
introduce you.
Nobody ever gets it right. My wife's name is Linda Spino, and when we got married, I said, you know what, we ought to take your name because
Oh,
Petishi
because
is
it's
so hard to
easier.
say. Spino's easy; it's still Italian. I said,
Yeah.
I said, you know, well, let's go Spino. You make a dinner reservations on the phone. What's the name? Spino. I don't say Petishi because they can't spell Petishi. They can't say it. I just say Spino. Put Spino down.
You're like, that's
I still
easier.
wish I could take your name instead of you taking my name.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Petishi.
yes, yeah, that's
Okay.
good. Yeah,
Petishi. Okay, I got it. I think I got it now.
you
Petishi.
can just call me Vince, Vince or
All
Vinny,
right.
Vinny, whatever you like.
Okay, I'll call you Vincent.
Okay,
Um,
all right,
or
Bonnie,
Vince if you prefer that. It
whatever you
doesn't.
like.
Okay. So I generally just do a short little introduction like, hey, welcome to Interview with a Tarot Reader. I got Vincent Patizzi here, and he's written several books. Actually, you just had a book released a couple months ago. I
Yeah,
saw that.
December. Yeah,
Yeah, and you've been reading for a while now, right?
you know, I started reading in 69. I started reading,
Wow.
but I started reading professionally in 93.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's been a long time. You know, either way, you want to look at professionally or just reading. You know, but yeah, and it's been a hell of a nice ride too. It's just been wonderful. You know,
Yeah.
and
So that's like 50 years,
yeah,
right? 50
you
years.
know, it
Wow.
was funny when I made my deck. I just made my own deck, my Marseille deck.
Yeah, I actually have that right behind me,
Yeah,
right
you
here.
got. I sent you it, right? Yeah, you bought a deck.
I
I,
did.
if you look at the Two of Pentacles on that, it has 1969 to 2019 because the deck came out in 2019, which just happened to be a 50-year anniversary of me reading.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until I was making the cards. I thought, oh yeah, okay, 50 years.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. It's
Yeah.
incredible. And 50 years of wisdom that's been built into that. So
Oh, and you know what? Yeah, you're constantly learning. You know,
yeah.
you're always just. I'm still learning. You'll never stop. But it's fun. I think if you really like to do something, you can't help but keep on trying to learn something more about it. You can learn everything there is to know about it, and then you're starving for something more to learn. you know, and I think that's when really people that really get good at something, I think, just crave to learn more about whatever it is. And if you
Right.
can't find something, you'll invent it. Invent it
True.
and then learn that, you know. But and that's where new ideas come up and all sorts of things. So, but yeah, it's been a wonderful time, and I met some wonderful other readers. Like you say, yourself, you have your own store and stuff. We've worked with some other people. We've become friends with them too, and it's been a lot of fun.
Wow. So why the tarot? Like
Well, I
why the
was
tarot?
well, I was raised with metaphysical interests. My family, my mother, and my stepfather. I had a stepfather for a while, and they were involved with the Theosophical Society and the Rosicrucians, and they were both psychic. He was really psychic, my stepfather, and they were involved in that stuff. So their friends would come over to our house, and they'd be clairvoyants and psychics and tarot readers and things like this. So I was raised with that. It was always around, and I got to interact with the grown-ups too when they come over. You know, we would talk about stuff, and but I don't know. I never really when I bought my first deck, I was 16 years old, and that's when I thought, well, I didn't know what I wanted to get into, astrology, tarot, or whatever. And just something about the tarot appealed to me. I thought, well, that's what I'm over.
Oh, wow.
And but I had a lot of encouragement too, because my family was involved with it. So I get a deck of tarot cards and I'm reading the cards to them, doing it, and they say, "Oh, you're really good." Well, I didn't know what I was doing, but my family was encouraged, So, and then what was something with tarot cards, you can go off and on with it too. You can take them and put them in a drawer somewhere for a couple of years and do something. Then you pick them up later on. It's not like playing a piano, where you get rid of the piano, you got to get a new piano. Yeah. So I mean, it was something I was able to, as a teenager growing up. Other things came up in life, and able to put it away for maybe a year, then pick it up again, and it was always around. It was just always around. And then and I went into the graphic arts, printing industry, lithographer, and after a while, I wanted to get out of that. After like 25 years of doing that, and I thought, well, I'm going to go back into teaching, and I'm going to teach the tarot. And so I started working at a couple stores, teaching the cards and doing readings there. And that's when I started to read professionally. And that's when I met Linda. And we decided we were going to do this together professionally. So.
Okay. So you guys do it together. That's nice.
Yeah. Yes, it is, because she had a lot of contacts that I didn't have. She's a psychic, and so places with fairs and things like that, she had a lot of places that wanted her to read there. She didn't read. She had her own business. She had a tanning salon, massage, and nails place. And a lot of people wanted her to read them, for her to read them. She wouldn't read them because she didn't want to lose them as customers. So she had me working in her store for a couple of weeks, and then we were starting to go out, and I said to her, I said, "What do you think about reading professionally, you and me?" And she says, "You know what?" She says, "I like that." So she had the contacts, so we got set up with fairs and different stores, and she made it easy for me, because a lot of people wanted her to read. Nobody knew me. But that's how it worked.
Is she still reading? Is she still?
Oh yeah, she's still around. She's not here today, but she's she reads. Yeah, right now we're just doing a lot of phone readings.
Yeah.
We used to have people come to the house. We don't do that anymore. Even before COVID, we stopped doing that. But and then we read at the Quest bookstore. It's a New Age bookstore in Chicago. But a couple of days a week they were a house reader, and but since COVID came around, we stopped that. But we still do fairs and stuff like that. So this year has been nothing going on but phone readings. But we have we do some outdoor events, and we work at a New Age bookstore together. We've worked at a lot of New Age bookstores together, but the one we're at right now, we've been there about 10 years.
So you said you were raised in this, clearly, and you picked up your first tarot deck when you were 16. What are your thoughts? Because this came up recently on one of my videos, actually on my private YouTube channel, of somebody saying they got really upset because we were talking about a tarot deck that was geared towards kids.
Oh.
So what are your thoughts on that, on since you were 16 reading the tarot, on kids reading the tarot?
It's a lot of it has changed. It's changed. The attitude of it's changed so much since 69. It's a lot more open now. And there's not so much of a dark cloud around it anymore. They're still there by some people. And that's interesting, because about 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago now, my buddy, he's like a brother to me, my one friend, and his daughter was interested in learning tarot cards. So she knew I read. She was like 15. And I told her, I said, well, I'll get you a deck. I got decks. I'll bring a deck next time, you could have it. Oh, good. My friend told me, he said, don't bring those in the house.
Mhm.
He said, I don't want my daughter messing with that stuff. And that, okay. When she's 18, she can get her own deck. I'm not gonna cause any problems. But so there is still a lot of that. I don't think that there shouldn't be anything to be afraid of with it though.
Yeah.
If people feel that way, then that's fine. But as far as children using it, I think it's a good idea. I think it helps bring out that part of the mind that uses your imagination and your intuition. And I think that's great for kids. Kids are so intuitive anyway,
Mhm.
and they have a wonderful imagination. And so I think intuition and imagination work hand in hand. It's the same part of the mind. Instead of the rational, logical part of the mind, you're using this other part. And the more imaginative you get, the more creative, the more intuitive you're going to become. And so I think children are very intuitive because they're very
Yeah.
imaginative. So yeah, I think kids using tarot cards is fine. As far as children's decks, I know they have the gummy bear tarot.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I've
that's
seen that one, yeah.
yeah.
No, there's one that was just up on Kickstarter not too long ago. I think it ended its Kickstart, but yeah, it was like animals, really cute animals, that kind of thing. And it
Okay.
was totally geared to the kids, but I really upset this woman over it. It was kind of like, how dare you? And it's because of what you're talking about. It's that fear that is still there with something like the tarot.
But I know we were talking about that a while ago, years ago. We were talking about they ought to come out with a children's deck because anybody who's involved with tarot will buy it for their kids,
Mm,
as a marketing tool.
mm-hmm.
But anybody who's not involved with tarot won't. But
Right.
there's a lot of people that are involved with it, and they'll definitely want their kids to get the deck. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's an interesting thing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so over this over this 50 years career of a tarot reader, has there been people, and I like to ask this question because it's always interesting, I think, for people like me or people that are trying to learn the tarot. Who is there anybody out there that inspired you, or was there any books that you read? Was there anything like that in the span of time that you've been reading?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this in Bare Bones Tarot. The last book I just made is that I talk about 69 and what was going on. And when I started reading, it was the Marseille deck in
Hmm.
69. So they didn't have New Age bookstores. You go to like a big bookstore, you got tarot cards, and you buy the only deck you can get was the Marseille. The following year, they came out with the Rider Waite. They reintroduced it back in US Games did in 1970.
Right.
And that deck, they also came out with Eden Gray came out with the book Complete Guide to the Tarot
Yeah.
using the Rider Waite deck. And I think that legitimized the Rider Waite deck as made it a legitimate deck of cards to use as tarot cards. And it was a real good book on how to read tarot cards. And I think that was a big influence.
Eden
Um,
Gray.
yeah, Eden Gray.
I
And then,
have one of her books. I think, yeah, Mastering the Tarot. I have one of her books.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And and then later on, I'd say Mary Greer, Rachel Pollack were big ones for me.
Yeah.
Um, I had them endorse my first book, Genius of the Tarot. And
Yeah.
it's funny because I was at that time I was saying a tarot reading is like a mind map. A card spread is like a mind map. It's different positions or different parts of the question you're looking at, and it's visual. And all the finer branches of a mind map are verbally expressed through the reader by the details they're getting from the card placed in this branch or this branch over here, you know. And Mary Greer didn't agree with me. And she said, well, I like your book. She said, it's a nice book. She said, but this is all I could say about it. She said, I really agree with you. But she was nice enough to give me an endorsement of it. She thought the book.
Aw.
And Rachel Pollack didn't have anything to say about it. with that. She liked the fact that I had conversations with the major arcana. The last chapter of the book, half a dozen major arcana came and we talked, just like they're sitting in my front room when we're talking. And she really liked that, which really was just a filler to me. I was
Mhm.
talking about the how to read tarot cards and the mind mapping thing of it. So it was funny to see that they both got something different out of it. But yeah, those names were big with me. Um, as far as an influence, Tarot of the Bohemians
Mhm.
by Pappas. It's a classic, but you can't get anything out of it. I don't think.
Yeah.
And it's too involved, too confusing. And the Pictorial Key to the Tarot by Arthur Waite, same way. You
Yeah.
know,
I've been reading through that. I find it it's interesting. I find he's like arguing with the meanings of the cards from like Crawley. Half that book
yeah,
he's just kind of arguing, saying, "Well, I disagree with this guy and I disagree with them."
yeah. I know they did that back then,
Yeah.
and I don't. Now you wouldn't do that. You know, you would. It's tacky now, but back then I think that's I guess what you did. But and he even says in that book about the fact that he switched the majors strength and justice
Mhm.
to 8 and 11. He says you don't need to know why. You don't need to know. I just did it.
He's like, I just did it.
Yeah, you can. I'll talk about that later. You don't need to know that
Yeah.
right now. Like we're too stupid to understand it. You know. So yeah, it's a whole different game, and it was a whole different attitude back then. But I have to say that I guess it was just something that just appealed to me as far as what drew me to the tarot. It just appealed to me, and I liked playing cards too. So you know.
Mhm. Wow. Well, yeah, I'm interested in talking to Rachel Paul. I've actually been in communication with her through email.
Have you?
So, yeah, so she's down to doing an interview here in a couple months. She's super busy right now, but
Okay.
she's like, yeah, let's do an interview in a couple months. So I'm looking
Oh,
forward to
that's
that.
great.
Well, and you know what's interesting about it is that a lot of the newer readers that I'm finding, because I'm on TikTok, that's mostly
Okay.
where I'm at.
Okay.
And a lot of the newer readers don't know these names. They don't know Rachel Pollack. They don't know Mary Greer. They don't know any of these people.
I believe it.
Um,
I believe it. Yeah,
yeah,
they're becoming way way back there stuff.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
now is Liz Dean, I think is a big name. Joanne Bunning. Um,
Uh,
I don't know.
I don't know them.
And
So
I don't know what the newer names are out there.
to be honest with you, I really don't either because I study most of the older stuff myself. So, but
How
yeah.
long you been involved with the tarot?
Um, I got my first deck when I was about 17.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be 42, so 20
Oh,
something
okay.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been doing it for a while, off and on. Off
Okay.
and on.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very Christian home, so I had to kind of go through this thing with it. So, but yeah. So
It's
yeah,
funny.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. That's great. I have two older sisters and my brother-in-laws, and they know I no, obviously they know I read. They're very Christian, very Catholic.
Mm,
They go to church every Sunday. They're involved with their church,
mhm.
Catholic church, you know. But they never badmouth me about my tarot.
Oh.
That's nice. That's nice. You do that, Vince. That's nice. But they're proud of me that I'm an author and stuff. But they don't want, but they're not into the tarot at all.
Well, I mean, that's good because I know so many people that have, and even myself, I've gone through this where I've lost family members. I mean,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, oh yeah, you lose family members and friends that just don't want anything to do with you anymore because I was always a little bit more in the closet about it
oh,
until recently. And it, you know, what, it is what it is. So,
yeah. And if we
but
don't understand something, it makes it we 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 start to put spirits in there and evil
yeah.
forces and things. And that's why I liked about what I tell people now. I taught I have done some private lessons with psychologists, two of them actually,
Mm-hmm.
who and one of and another one who was a college professor. um, who wanted to bring in what I was talking about the tarot to people around their colleagues, but were afraid to because of it was the way it might be taken. But I
Hmm.
talk about how now I could see the tarot being an effective tool. The reason it works is because of today what's called conceptual blending, a creative thinking technique, and it's identical to a tarot reading. So
Mm.
the more we understand about our mind, the more the tarot effectiveness of a tarot reading could be explained now and why it works. And you could actually take college courses on creative thinking techniques and conceptual blending. And so I was telling them now you could introduce it as a creative thinking technique. You don't have to say it's this mystical deck of cards. You could say it's an actual creative thinking technique. And
Yeah.
it's the same type of thing a think tank would do, or anybody who's looking for some creative ideas, creative thinking techniques. Artificial intelligence uses it, medicine, science, technology, they all use conceptual blending. And it's an identical application to a tarot reading. Only they
Mm.
don't use tarot cards, they use anything in the world around them. Anything in the world. You could use anything, water bottle, anything,
Yeah.
for randomness. So yeah, it can be explained today in ways that make sense where people can accept it a little bit better. So if you're having trouble getting people to accept it, tell them it's a creative thinking technique. That's all.
Is that
It makes it okay.
is that how you mostly see it?
I
Or
see
do
it. I
you?
see it as an explanation of why it works. Yes,
Okay.
a creative thinking technique taps into the mind, which is still intuitive. But I don't see the tarot as having some intelligence, a deck of cards with intelligence to it. I see it more of a tool that allows us to spark ideas from our own mind that we didn't see before we sat down with these cards. So you have these cards, you do a reading, you have a question, and now you found an answer and it works. It's a real strong illusion to look at this deck of cards and say, how did these cards tell me that? Where I'm saying my opinion is it wasn't the cards that told you. The cards were a tool, but it was this whole application of a card reading that made it work. Now you could use something else besides tarot cards laying into those positions called the card spread, and it would work just as well. But the cards are a perfect tool for creative thinking. And so I think we just understand more about the mind today. We still don't know anything about intuition, but we do understand how to get ideas that we didn't see before. And this is the same thing that Da Vinci did, and Darwin, and Einstein, and Newton. They all did this exact technique. It's
Mhm.
the way the mind naturally works anyway. Creative thinking, conceptual blending. But now we've applied tarot cards to that application, and it's an identical application.
Do
My
you ever
opinion.
get do you ever get push on that from people that are saying, "Hey, I use this as a tool for channeling," or
You
"It's my
know,
spirit guides that are."
I from other readers, but from I get not a push, but I get um where they're like, oh, okay, that's nice. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
And but they could have they got their thinking, you know.
they got yeah.
And so no, nobody's ever. I don't get too many people arguing with me about it. But if you hang around with other readers, everybody reads differently anyway.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so you could sit there and talk about what the moon card means to you, and how I see the moon coming be two different ways that work. Your ways work, my way works. So everybody sees it differently a little bit. Everybody has their own way of doing it. Sort of like Picasso or Rembrandt. They're both artists, but they both totally different way of doing things.
Mm.
You know, so no, I don't get too much. I get sometimes I get people on a YouTube channel who might argue with me.
Yeah.
Not argue, but make their comment. I don't argue with it, no, but people that I know face to face won't.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
they don't.
it's an because, there is definitely 2 schools of thought about it, that's for sure out there. And
Sure.
then there's somebody like me that might be somewhere in the middle. I think
Yeah,
I
okay. Yeah.
I think I try to be open on either end, but,
Well,
I agree with you 100% on the psychological part of it, for sure.
okay. All right. Well,
I guess the other side of it comes in, like, well, how do we explain psychic phenomenon, that kind of
yeah.
thing? Where
That.
does
Yeah,
that come from?
well, yeah, and that's still
Yeah.
something we can't explain. I can't explain. I'm clairvoyant. Um, I've done card readings where I've seen something
Mhm.
and that's going to happen in the future, and I've seen things around people, regard even if I wasn't doing a card reading. Sometimes I can't control that, but
Yeah.
that has nothing to that we still can't explain. Out of body experiences, astral projection, clairvoyance, intuition, but you don't need a deck of tarot cards to do that.
Right, right.
But it sure brings, but these cards sure have a way of bringing that out
Mhm.
in people. And I think that they really do bring it out, that part of your mind. And I got to see auras around people. Um, Usually, if I'm in a reading room, the wall behind the person I'm reading, I like to try to keep it very neutral,
Mhm.
like a gray or a neutral color, no pattern, and the lighting is dim, and then I could see their aura.
Ah.
And it's to me, I don't see color in the aura. I just see different shades of white on an aura around them. And but I say it's funny because if I'm doing the reading and I say something that really hits home with them, like raises an eyebrow, like what?
Mhm.
I'll see their aura will spike just like this. You got this white around there, and then all of a sudden you see this lightning bolt jolt out of their aura.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
not just a spike. It could be this way, it could be that, it could be anywhere. And even if their expression doesn't change, I know I hit a nerve with that what I just said to them
It's
because I
giving it
see that
away.
I see that spike come out of their aura, like I know that got them, you know.
Yeah.
So there is something with that stuff that we just can't explain, to me.
Wow. Well, it's interesting because you had talked about earlier how, readers are going to read differently. It's just the way it's going to be. Some
Yeah.
people are going to have like the abilities that you have. Some people aren't. They're going to see it from a solely psychological standpoint. And I've run into that. I know a few people that work in they're psychologists or counselors, and they'll use it in that way.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but what I'm finding interesting right now, especially in this kind of social media world on TikTok, for sure, especially in this younger generation, this kind of Generation Z that we're into right now, I'm seeing
A lot of what?
a lot of fighting about the meanings of the cards. So
Oh,
somebody will come up and they will be going after another tarot reader saying, "Well, you're reading that wrong. You're doing that wrong." And it seems to be rampant right now. These tarot readers kind of attacking other ones on how they're reading their cards. It's a very unusual thing that we're seeing on social media right now with this.
that's interesting because that's always been a snag, I think, because if you get Rider Waite's, Arthur Waite's definitions, and then you got um, Aleister Crowley's definitions, and then you got somebody else's definitions who writes a book on tarot, and somebody else who writes a book on tarot. They all have their own definitions. They're all different. So it
Hmm.
depends if I'm reading with the Rider Waite deck or if I'm reading with the Crowley deck. Um, who's right? Who's wrong? They're, I think they're all right.
Yeah.
But yeah. So to say that one person's readings are or more accurate reading meanings than another you're gonna be chasing your tail with that.
Yeah.
What I did when I started teaching is I took 10 books on the tarot and I wrote down or looked at the meanings for each out of each book for the Eight of Swords. What is this book saying? What is that book saying? What is this book saying? And then I came up with, okay, all these books combined, if I boil it all down, that card means this
Mm-hmm.
in one or two words, you know. And then I take the next card and do the same thing. And I came up with key words that would mean be agreeable with all these authors. That this card basically means this.
Mm-hmm.
This card means inspiration. This card means evolvement. This card means knowledge, whatever it happens to be. And I think that that worked out very well.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you could download off your website your cheat sheet there where you've kind of keyworded
Right.
everything out. Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's really
people,
helpful.
yeah, people like that. And
Yeah.
if you were to ask, if you were to take that and say, okay, I do this too in my classes. Let's say I take the knights, and I say, okay, knights are action, keyword. And I tell people in my class to say, write down 5 words that you can be associated with the word action. And everybody writes down 5 different types of action: stimulate or initiative or whatever they write, you know, movement, and everybody's going to have a list of 5 different words.
Yeah.
You know, so I what I like about keywords is it allows you to use your own mind. You're seeing the cards through your own eyes now on how I interpret action. Instead of memorizing what this card means from wrote in a book, I can interpret and associate my own views on this card's meaning based on the way I see it. And I like that better.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally does. Yeah, and I've done it myself too, especially um
Okay.
and you mentioned the swords because the swords tends to be that suit. Yeah, especially with the Rider Waite that gets a little trippy like that. Especially
Oh
like I
yeah.
look at the 3 of swords and the Rider Waite kind of version of that card, say, versus a Marseille version of that
Uh,
card are very different, at
yeah.
least from what I have seen.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's
I people say I use threes are creativity to me. That's why I
mhm.
see the minor arcana threes, creativity. And so people say to me, well, how do you see the 3 of swords as creative?
Right, right.
And they're talking, I know they're talking about the rider deck, you know.
Of course.
And I say, well, okay. You got 3 swords stabbing into a heart, bleeding all over the place. But sometimes you got to get creative with something you don't want to do.
Mhm.
I gotta have this conversation with somebody. I don't want to have this conversation, you know. Um, um, uh, um, I use the analogy. Let's say you're going through a divorce. You got to sit down with your spouse and decide who's going to get what. We got to get creative here. It's not a pleasant conversation,
Yeah.
but it's still something that has to be taken care of. And you can improvise. You can get creative on. Okay, well, you take this. I'll take this. Visiting rights and all this other stuff with children and all this. It's not a happy time, but you're getting creative.
Mhm.
And so that's a way you could see. Sometimes being creative isn't a pleasant thing. Power of attorney
Mhm.
for who's going to be power of attorney if something happens to me. That's not a happy thing to think about.
Right. True.
But if I make you power of attorney, is that person going to get mad? Is my aunt going to, or my son, or my whoever, other family members? Why
Mhm.
didn't you make me power of attorney? Why did you make her power of attorney? So you got to get creative. So sometimes if you want to look at the 3 of swords as being a negative type of thing because of that image, you could say, well, it's still a creative thing. It's still creative, but it's not
Yeah.
a happy creative energy. And the same with the 8, 9, 10 of swords
Hmm.
on the rider deck. I look at the 8 as advancement. And here you got the woman all tied up
Yeah.
with a blindfold on.
She ain't going nowhere in that
Right.
image.
Yeah. How do you see that as advancement? And I say, well, advancement's still the issue. She needs to find a way where obviously she can't advance now, but advancement's the issue we're looking into. How are we going to be able to free this bondage up and advance? You
Hmm.
have to advance. Things are holding you back. Or I look at the 9 as attainment, and you have that woman sobbing in bed in the middle of the night. And how do you see that as an attainment? Well, that could be for somebody who's coming out of self-denial, a rude awakening, awareness of a sad truth, coming to terms with some sad thing
Hmm.
that you're finally, okay, I see what's going on now. This is, I've been trying not to see it. I've been avoiding it. So yeah, sometimes an attainment can be an unpleasant attainment, but it's still a growing thing. It's something that will help you eventually in the long run. And I see 10s as a completion, and the Rider Waite has that guy laying in the mud.
Yeah.
And
He's had a
swords,
bad day.
that's a
He's had a very bad day.
yeah. And I see it sometimes, because I like the Marseille decks. So 10 of swords,
Hmm.
just 10 swords. And I'm using a Rider deck, and I'm interpreting the way I do. I might see that as a good thing, retirement or something. And we'll say, how do you see that out of that card? I'll say that's just a snapshot of one type of a closure, a completion. There's all sorts of different completions. So I like to look at those cards with the images as a snapshot, frozen, of one particular type of attainment or one particular type of a completion or whatever. There's all sorts of graduation is a completion, retirement's a completion. That dead guy laying there in the mud is a completion too. Yeah, but they're not all bad.
Yeah.
And so it depends on how you want to interpret it for the reading with the other cards that are there, and how you feel about the person sitting across from you and the reading you're looking into, the thing you're looking into. That's the way I look at it. So I just look
Yeah.
at the images as more of a possible type of meaning, but it's not the only way to see the card. And that's
Do you think
because I learned with the Marseille.
that the images can be limiting?
Well, I think the images are great. I think sometimes you can, but I don't like to look at them as the only message you can get. Like I said,
Yeah.
I could look at the 10 of swords on a Rider deck and see it as that image of that guy as maybe it's insightful for that reading. But I could also look at it, if it doesn't seem to fit with the rest of the reading, I could look at it as a completion, but a good one. So I like to try to keep it all open. Am I looking at the numerical value? Am I looking at the image? Am I looking at other things? And try to measure out what I'm going to look at, how I'm going to interpret it for this reading. And a lot of that depends on the other cards around it. Then the question I'm looking into, the person, how I feel about it. That's intuitive, and I think that's a good way to look at it.
Do you think it's better for somebody that's just trying to learn the tarot to be learning off the Rider Waite, or something very visual like that? Or do you think it's better to learn off of something like the Marseille?
I can't say. I really can't say. I learned initially off the Marseille, but I like the newer decks. I like the images on the newer decks too. I use the analogy. The Marseille is like reading a classic book, where the newer decks with pictures on them is like seeing the motion picture.
Hmm.
So if you were to read Jaws, the book, Or if you see the motion picture, Jaws, they're both good, but I'm sure the book, I never read the book, but I'm just saying, I'm sure the book would be a great book.
Yeah.
Usually people will say the book was better than the movie. And I like to look at it when you have the Marseille deck, it's like you're reading a book, because you have to come up with your own mind on what this is really, what this means, how you're seeing the card. You have to come up with that yourself. Where with images on the card, you're being told what it is.
Yeah.
And but I do like the images, as long as you keep an open mind to me, that they can move, that they can change. That this picture is just one aspect, one snapshot of that meaning, but it could be a whole bunch of other ones. Actually, I like, as far as images go, I always liked this deck, the Aquarian deck.
Oh, the Aquarian? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I always liked the images on this deck.
Yeah. 1970s, I think that came out, right?
Yeah,
Some
right.
70s, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good deck.
I
It's
think,
interesting, especially when you talk about something like conceptual blending, because I imagine that the images on cards can definitely aid in that, or it
yeah,
changes it the way that you would use something like conceptual blending versus on Marseille deck, where you have to go deeper into this creative thinking now. So I imagine there's got to be differences there.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I think the images are a lot more to look at. You know, I use the example of the Chariot card on the Rider deck. I've said this a lot of times in different to it, so hopefully you haven't heard it. But I did a reading for a guy who was getting a job, who was applying for a job as a working for a cruise liner. Young guy, good-looking guy, single. He wants to work for this cruise liner, and they were taking applications downtown Chicago, and it was a group application, so there's like 100 people in the room, and you got a couple of recruiters just asking you a couple of questions, and then going to the next person, ask you a couple of questions, ask you, and writing down some key names, people that they think might be and then they would call you from there. So it wasn't really, it was a group thing, quick, maybe 10% get called. And he asked me, am I going to get the job? And I told him, yeah, of course you're going to get the job. I'm not going to tell him, no, you're not going to get the job. Don't bother going.
Yeah.
So and I'm looking, and the first card I threw over was the Chariot. And oh no, he didn't get the job. Well, he came back to me a couple of months later, says, I didn't get the job. He says, could we get another reading?
Yeah.
So I said, okay. And I threw over this Chariot card, my first card. Now, the first time I read him, he had these wristlets, ace bandages on his wrists from carpal tunnel. Both wrists had these on his wrist. And when I saw him for the second reading, he had those on there still for carpal tunnel. And so I threw over this Chariot card, and you see that he's got those things on his wrists.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I looked at that card, and I looked at his wrist, and I said, did you have those on when you went down for that interview? He said, yeah, I got to keep these on. I said, there's 100 people in there. They're going to look at you, they're going to look at you, they're going to look at you, and they're going to look at you. They're just going to, that's confusion. I'm going to go to the next. They're not going to.
Yeah.
I said, go down there again. I said, they're going to do another interview? He said, yeah, they're doing another one. I said, go down there again. I said, and take those off your wrist. He says, well, they would know I was there before. I said, I don't care. Who cares? Go down there, take those off your wrist. That's why he didn't get the job. And he did, and he got hired.
Wow.
Working Norwegian Cruise Lines, the Hawaiian Islands. Nice job. Single guy, living on a cruise ship. because of the wristlets on his chariot card is why he got that job. And that's not what that card means.
Yeah.
Hold on. We'll just turn this off. So that's how, that's like you said, that's intuitive. That's just looking at that's on his wrist, looking at those things on his wrist there. And I said, that's why he didn't get it.
Yeah.
And he got the job. So that's a good example of how those images can mean something different. Then you can't really put that in a book.
Yeah.
So I do like the images on the cards. They do have their advantages. I like I said, I'm a reader in Chicago. I don't know any other readers that read with the Marseille. I know they're there. I just
Yeah.
don't know any personally. The readers that I know, nobody uses the Marseille.
Not
And
in Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, all these beautiful decks that are out there. Why bother with that? And people will see my cards and they'll say, "I don't know how you read with those." Other readers will see them. Like, I don't know how you read with these cards.
Oh, I love reading with them. I do them on because I go live on my TikTok quite a lot, and I do donation-based readings on there, and I read with the Marseille all the time.
Oh, good, great.
People are always just like, yeah. They're like, what deck is that? What is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
They get a trip out of it. So, but I do like, it depends on the reading, but I do like to pull them out. When you're doing readings, and I'm going to ask you a little bit about tarot ethics because, well, I just find it interesting where
Sure.
everybody
Yeah.
stands on this.
Sure. Yeah.
Is there anything that you find that is just not okay to ask a tarot reader?
Oh, if I yeah, there are. To me, there are, and I'll tell people I can't give you an answer with that. For one thing, is he cheating on me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Get that
gonna.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my husband's cheating on me or something, whatever. I'll say, I see you need to talk with each other. You need to sit down and talk. There might be problems here, but I'll just say I can't say he's cheating on me. And I won't do that. I like to do a reading as if he's sitting right there with us in the room when she asks me a question like that. Because he's not here to defend himself. Her imagination might be overdoing things. Maybe she's seeing something differently. But they do need to talk. If she's concerned, then they need to talk. And if he's not talking, then you two need to figure out there's a problem there, and you two need to figure that out. That's what I'll say. Or did this person put a spell on me? I think somebody put a curse on me at work. Did that person put a curse on me? I don't believe in curses. So that's what I'll say. I just don't believe in curses. I said, this person might be jealous of you or something like that, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, if a person put a curse on you. No, I'm not gonna say that. I like to do readings as if a judge is sitting in that room with me, with that client. If you had to explain yourself in court, would you be able to do it? And I think that's a good way to look at it. Or if you're talking about a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or anything, if that person how would you feel? How would you answer if that person was in the room right now too? And that's a safe way to do it. And yeah, there might be problems. You two need to work them out. But I can't. I'll just tell people right off the bat. I can't say. I wouldn't accuse somebody of that. A curse on you? No. Medical advice is another thing. I could say I feel good about you sitting across from me, but I can't tell you how your test results are going to come out. Maybe you won't know till Monday. I might have cancer. Test results won't be here till Monday. Could you tell me what they're going to be? No. I can say I feel good about you. I think you got good care. How do you feel about your doctor? Well, I like my doctor. Then you're fine. So if you want to get a second opinion, get a second opinion. But that's just like I was talking to a friend. That's how I do that. I wouldn't say, yeah, I see you got cancer.
There you go. Good luck.
I'm not going to say that.
Yeah.
And I feel good about you. I'm glad you're getting to the doctor. I'm glad you're getting these tests done. And in the meantime, I feel good about you. That's all. That's what I tell you. but it's funny because I have regular clients who, even though they know I won't talk medical, they'll still ask me.
Oh, sure.
They'll
Yeah.
say, I don't, I know, Vince, you don't talk about medical, but I just have to look at it. I just want to know how's this going to go? I said, well, I just feel good about what you're doing, and the doctors you're seeing, you like them, yeah, I like them. Then it's going to be fine. That's how, you know.
Sure.
And that's how yeah, I think there's certain things that you shouldn't really ask a reader. They're going to, so really it becomes up to the reader how you're going to handle it.
Yeah.
And after a while, you get good at doing it.
Right. And it seems to be you're going to get these questions.
Yeah,
You're going to get these questions, especially if you're like you're doing a fair or, where you're seeing a lot of people on a day, you're going to get these questions. And
yeah,
so you're right. I think with experience, you get really good at, well, let's reword this in a way that we can make this somehow work. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. And then there's, like there's certain things I make predictions as well. As I tell people I make predictions. That's what a reading is.
mhm.
And so somebody comes up, we used to do annual fairs, city, 4th of July festival or whatever. And so you got the same people coming seeing you every year. And so somebody might say, well, am I going to sell my house this year? Now, that's a good question. Because if I say, yeah, I see you selling it. Well, now next year, I'm going to see them again. And they could tell me whether I was wrong or right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if I see you need to get a different realtor. You got a realtor? No, I don't have a realtor. Okay, get a realtor. You might have to come down a little in the price or whatever. I might tell them some things, but or I might even tell them that it might be hard, but I'll never tell them, no, you won't sell your house. I might say, well, it's going to be it's a hard year to sell.
Yeah.
But you can still sell, but it's going to be tough. So if you don't worry, if you don't sell, you'll sell next year. So that's how I like to answer questions like that. Or if we're going to have a baby, or we have a baby. Mm-hmm. And I it's funny, I never had children. I never wanted children.
Mm-hmm.
And but I always feel I can sense that pretty well with children. I don't know why. And so if I say, yeah, I see you two will conceive this year. And lots of times I've had people come up to me the next year wheeling a buggy, pointing and said, you predicted her, that's her baby, and I don't even know who they are.
Isn't that fascinating? I always find it fascinating. I always amaze myself when I get stuff like that. And I just had that happen. I did a reading for a girl 2 days ago. Pregnancy came up. So it wasn't coming through the cards. It was more, because I do mediumship as well.
Okay.
It came out that way, but she got a hold of me just yesterday. So this was a day after the reading and said, hey, I took a pregnancy test. Guess what? I'm pregnant. Like, dang.
That's great.
Isn't that amazing how that stuff works sometimes? Well, but
I like when you have feedback and you get feedback from people. And I've had people, like I said, I do certain festivals. I'll have people walk by the table and say, everything you said last year was true. Great reading. And they keep walking. I don't even know who they are.
Right. Yeah. I get that a lot too. Yeah.
So, but it's just nice to hear. Thanks. I'm glad to hear everything worked out. So it's nice to get the feedback.
Yeah, it is nice. And it helps. It validates it too. You're like, okay, I'm actually doing something here.
Yeah,
I'm doing something real here.
That's true.
Do you use the tarot in your own personal practice? Do you read for yourself?
I was thinking about that this morning because the last get together on tarot, our tarot gathering, somebody asked me that. I always got these cards around. I got. I might be watching television. I got a deck of cards in me. Maybe I just did a phone reading or something. And but I don't do spreads for myself. I don't do a Celtic cross for myself or something like that. I might look at a card, think about it, but I don't even consider it really a reading. I just, what am I getting from that? You know, they're so close to me. I don't know when I'm reading myself or not.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't do any formal reading for myself. And what's interesting is Linda and I are both readers. So she could read me and I could read her, but we don't read each other. We don't really see a need for it.
Do you think that would be hard to read your wife? I mean, considering
It
you
probably would
have,
because, yeah.
yeah, you have a bias built up in there somewhere.
Well, plus I
Yeah.
know everything that's going on with her. I know everything that's going on with her, you
Yeah.
know, and she
Yeah,
knows
you can't
everything's
be
going on with me.
objective.
Yeah. So, I mean, what am I going to tell her, you know? So we don't read each other. When we first met, we read each other a lot, but we didn't know each other that well yet.
Hmm.
But no, there would be no reason. Because people will say, well, do you read each other? No. No, we don't. No. But I guess
Okay.
you can see where that would make sense.
No, it totally makes sense. I mean, there's some people that it's very much part of their personal practice. They do it every day. But I find for me, the more I read for other people, the more I do it because it's like I'm surrounded by tarot all day long. It's what I do.
Good.
So it's yeah, it's like I just don't read for myself much. I just don't. You know, I just, it's just one of those things. But I think you're right. It's hard for me to read for myself anyways because I can't be
Yeah.
objective with myself. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
So,
But if you do want to try to be that way, I think I wrote it in Radical Tarot. Um, I don't have a copy here, but I think I called it the 6 point spread. And it came from the Six Thinking Hats by some creative consultant, De Bono's, Edward De Bono's,
mhm,
the Six Thinking Hats. And what that is, it's just 6 aspects. You're looking at all the negative of the situation, all the positive of the situation, how you personally feel about it, um, creative ideas about the situation, what you can do to change it. And then what all the information you have about it, all this information. Do you need any more information? And then a conclusion or a
okay.
closure. So you gather all this information we have about this issue, how I personally feel about it, like it or dislike it. Then I force myself to look at all the negative things about it. And I force myself to look at all the positive things about it. And I look for options, ideas, and new things that I could think about this too. That's forcing me to look at all these different aspects. So if I really like something, I have to look at the negative of it anyway.
Mm,
And if I really hate something, I got to look at the positive. And this Six Thinking Hats, or what I call the 6 card force, is what I call it. I just made a card spread out of it, called called the 6 card force. This is stuff that is really basically used for like board of directors. Big companies would use this because half to believe that this is good, the other half think it's bad. Well, now we're all sitting around, go around the table. Tell me everything you like about this, but tell me all the good things you could find about this. Now, later on, we go to a table, all the bad things you could find about this. So you're forcing yourself to see both sides. And then
yeah.
at the end, we're going to make a conclusion. And so if you were to try to read for yourself, it's good to force yourself to see all aspects some way. And that spread does it good.
I'll have to take a look at that one. That
Yeah,
sounds
6 card
interesting.
force.
Yeah.
Or Edward De Bono, the Six Thinking Hats. Google,
Okay.
YouTube that, the Six
I
Thinking.
will. Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff written about it. He's a worldwide creative consultant. And
Okay.
yeah. So
Interesting.
yeah, But yeah, it's very difficult to read for yourself.
So, what is your go-to method for reading other people? How do you generally do that? I know you have a Celtic cross. I actually use your Celtic cross all the time. I love
Oh,
it.
good,
I
good.
think it's fantastic. I use it all the time in my readings.
Oh, good.
Um,
I'm glad you like it.
yeah.
And that's what I use, is I use the cross. Well, if I'm reading with somebody sitting across from me at a shop, a store, I use the cross. If I'm doing phone readings, usually I'm doing a lot of 3 card. So I have the phone and I'll be sitting there and I'll be just taking the cards and, I'm like this, just sitting there and just turning them over like this and talking, and then going over what I'm seeing about here and there, and then I might throw over another 3 later, and
Yeah.
that's usually what I'll do. I don't do a formal cross when I'm doing it. And that works out good. But that's usually the 2 things I do. And what I like to try to do with a reading is my goal is to have that client walk away with a definite answer, a direction, a plan of whatever it is they're trying to do. Whether that plan is wait until June before you make any moves, or act now but go slowly, or get this in place first before you make a move here, or whatever it is. I like to have them try to have some type of a strategy they're walking away with, a plan. Okay, this is what I need to do. And I think that's good. I think that works out well.
Do you have anything that you use in case you say have a block? What if you're just getting blocked and you're just not getting these some kind of helpful direction for them?
Well,
Does it ever happen?
no, it doesn't. It
Yeah.
doesn't. And I think part of that might be my spread, that cross. I don't
Yeah.
think you're going to have any blocks with that spread. If you do, I would say with that spread is, if you start to have blocks, I would say the first look at the simple things first. Like, okay, go to position 8, timing. When do I act? Do I wait or do I act now? Start with that. Yes or no? Now or later? Now or later?
Mhm.
Okay, now we're going to act now. Decide we're going to act now. So it's a night there. Act now. Action. From there, maybe you could break into other parts of the reading, because now we know we're going to take action. So I think one card might open up doors for other cards. And I think after a while, you'll start to get the ball rolling and break out of that block.
Mm.
But no, that's a good question. And I can't remember the last time I was blocked with anything.
Yeah,
So I
because
think,
I know a lot of new readers probably experience that a lot, and that's probably why the tarot spread is important. And I try to get people to do that. And I know a lot of new readers don't, because they're seeing other readers like on these social medias that just kind of free, they just toss cards and that's how they read. And I can see how somebody that's new to it can get very stumped in that way.
yeah, I like to tell people to practice reading fluently. And that's just, you do a cross and just throwing down, just as you're throwing the cards down, you're talking. Blah, 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 blah,
Mm.
blah, 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 blah. And you're making the story. And it's really impressive if you can do that.
Yeah.
So practicing that is a neat thing to do. And
I
I
like
think
that.
it gets you spontaneous. You just start talking, you tie into one card with the last card, and then those card with the next card. And then you're going back to the first card with this and that, back there, and you're talking, as you're laying the cards down, you're talking. And it's a good thing to practice. And I think that it brings out the spontaneous type of thing. Truth on a closure will advance in certain directions with new beginnings. Your confidence allowing you to face situations that have been difficult in the past. Whatever, you just talking,
Yeah.
throwing cards down. And you could do it with 3 cards. I was just doing 3 card spread. You could do that with 3 cards. But do that, you practice that. I think it's a good thing to do.
Good. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I'm gonna do that. So
Yeah, I do it. I do it sometimes. It's good
yeah,
practice, to do. It's just good practice to do. You're never gonna
yeah,
always do it perfectly, but it's just like anything else. You gotta sometimes you'll do it good, sometimes you'll do it, you wish you could do it better.
yeah. But I think that especially a new reader that gets them kind of just looking at one of those cards you're just going one card at a time, boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, as
Yeah,
opposed to throwing down all these cards and then trying to make sense of everything that's laid out in front of you.
I
Yeah.
yeah, I do think we've gotten to a point where we really try to look at everything under a microscope, and that's caused a lot of confusion, making a lot more involved to learn than it used to be, I think.
Hmm.
So keeping it simple is good.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. I really do think that's good. I'm going to use that actually because I
Yeah.
teach tarot classes too, and I think that's good because I do teach this kind of storybook, just learning to get acquainted with the cards, looking at it just like you're telling a story, one card at a time. But I
Okay.
haven't thought about incorporating it while you're doing the reading, trying it that way as
Okay.
well. Just taking
Yeah.
one card at a time, just looking at that one card and, intuitively just kind of going off of it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try that.
Okay.
Um, I have a question for you. What would you say at through all your years of experience, what is the greatest lesson do you think that you have learned from the tarot up to this point?
Hmm. Well, I have to say the biggest thing is that as far as I'm concerned, I've answered the biggest mystery of the tarot, why it works.
Mm,
No one has done that. That's why I started writing books. I say it's a creative thinking technique called conceptual blend. And I say that's the biggest thing that I say I've done with the tarot. And um, I think I also feel that the greatest, that's a great lesson. But I also feel that the meanings of the cards have changed over time. That's a big lesson. Bare Bones Tarot, I write in their traditional meaning today for each card, 78 cards. A traditional meaning for that card in 1980 is in there, right underneath it.
yeah.
Traditional meaning for that card in 1960. And
All that's in that book?
yeah,
Oh,
see how,
yeah,
yeah,
I got to see this. Yeah.
yeah, for each card. And I took that out of printed material that I still have. And some of it's comical. Some of it's comical. Like, I mean, like,
Yeah.
crazy things in there, like um, arthritis and
Hmm.
and crazy stuff in it. But you wouldn't use it today because you would have to worry about being sued.
Sure.
So I mean, they changed a lot with that. So I think that's another big thing that you can see that these cards are not etched in stone, and the meanings do change as society changes. I think as society changes, we change. The meanings of the cards change too, and
Mm.
I think that's a big one.
Yeah, I always find that interesting. I tell people that sometimes that some of these older and I think I have Anthony Lewis, his book. Um, oh gosh, I don't remember which one it is, but he has all these keywords of some of these old meanings, like especially the swords. It could mean surgery or heart disease. The 3 of Swords could be heart disease or something like
Yeah,
He throws that stuff in there, and I don't think you could ever get away with telling somebody that now.
no,
I
no,
don't
you
know.
can
I
get
think that would
sued.
be bad.
Yeah, you could, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right. Because usually, what people that do that, the readers that do that, usually come up with, I see you're getting heart disease, but I can do a spell for you for $500.
Sure.
Yeah, well,
Sure.
and I'll make, and you won't have that. And you keep this token, and for $500, you could have this and it'll protect you. You sleep with this under your pillow, you know. Those are the people that get arrested.
Yep. We
No,
had one here in Colorado that I think she has scammed hundreds of thousands of dollars out of a couple people
I
by
believe it.
doing that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, yeah,
They give us a
that's
bad
not
name.
okay.
They give us a bad name, Bonnie.
No, they do, and we're still battling it to this day. I mean, we are. There's a lot that I think that as readers that we still have to kind of get through, and I think it's getting much better. I mean, it's definitely not like it was back in the 60s or 70s or 80s,
Right.
where it's a different world now in 2020, that's for sure. But there still is a little bit of that cloud over it, and you're going to get charlatans in any field.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just it's
that's
just
true.
the way it
That's
is.
true. That's true.
Do you have any readings? Like, is there a reading that you've done in the past that would be considered a really memorable reading, or one that was just really interesting that you would feel comfortable with sharing?
I can't think of anything significant. Um, oh, I could tell you one that it's not recently, but I could tell you one, and I've mentioned this in classes too. But I'll tell you this one that there's a few of them, but I can tell you one that I think that was a nice ending.
Mm,
And we were doing a fair up in Milwaukee once a month. And there's like 8 readers, and people would buy a ticket in the doorway, and then they come in with their ticket, and they would give one of the readers the ticket and sit down with that reader, get a reading, 10-minute readings, whatever. So this couple comes walking in, and you could tell that he's very uncomfortable being there. And so they decide they're going to go to me. And he sits down he gives me my ticket. She's standing there. He gives me my ticket, and he's looking around behind him. It's like, he's very uncomfortable. And he starts to tell me he's Jesus Christ.
no.
Yeah. And he's here to save,
Okay.
he's here to save the world. But the devil's trying to kill him. And he's looking for his guardian angel. He says, I come down here, I gotta find my guardian angel, because my guardian angel is supposed to tell me what to do to save the world. In the meantime, the devil's trying to find me and kill me. And I just want to know, am I gonna find my guardian angel soon? So I know what I'm dealing with here is not normal. So I just try to calm him down and tell him, yeah, you're gonna, don't worry, you're gonna find your guardian angel soon. And then so I get him calmed down, and then his wife sits down with me, and she says, obviously you could tell he's got problems. She said, we're divorced now. He had a drug problem. He just got out of rehab. He was in there for 6 months. We got divorced, and then he went to rehab because he had problems. And after they let him out, he didn't know where to go, so he just came home. He says, so I got him at the house. I don't know what to do. I said, well, I said, is he seeing a counselor? And she says, yeah, he's seeing a counselor. Got to see him once a week. He's outpatient now. I said, okay, well, I said, give it time. Maybe he'll be able to adjust and get on with his life, and everything will be okay. And as long as he's seeing the counselor and he's doing okay, he's okay. All right. So anyway, a month later, next month, there they are again. They come to see me again. And he sits down with the reading, and he's telling me the same story. He's Jesus Christ, still can't find his guardian angel. So anyway, she just looks at me and shrugs her shoulder like, I said, yeah, okay. I cool him down again. Third month, there they are again. He sits down, same story. Jesus Christ, can't find his guardian angel. And so I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, okay, I looked at her and I remember she said he's got a counselor. And I said, you got a counselor? I'm throwing cards over. I said, you got a counselor, right? And he says, yeah, I got a counselor. I said, that's your guardian angel. Do whatever they tell you and you're going to be fine. He said, that's my guardian angel. I said, that's your guardian angel. Do whatever they tell you, you'll be fine. Okay. I never saw him again.
Wow.
Nothing to do with the cards. But
Wow,
I helped him.
Yeah.
At least I think I did because I never saw him again.
Yeah.
So that's a good story. Yeah. And as far as just one that I feel it was just so nice not to see him come in anymore. He started listening to his counselor, and I wish him luck. I hope he was fine, and hopefully either that or he was Jesus Christ and he saved the world, and that's why we're still here.
You're right.
His counselor was his guardian angel,
Right.
So. But another interesting reading that I did that was just interesting in a different way was an intuition. Was a police officer. I was reading a police officer, a woman. And she just wanted to know about, she got to get this promotion. I just want to know, am I going to get the promotion? Blah, 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 blah. We're just throwing cards over. And I'm asking her, how long you been with the force and all this? And she's telling me, I said, anybody else want this job? And I don't know, blah, blah, blah. So I'm looking into the cards, seeing if she's going to get this promotion. As I'm talking to her, I'm looking over here, and this black cat is walking next to me, stops right here, right by my side, looks at me, and keeps on walking over to her. And the cat ain't there. I'm in a store, So I stopped the reading. I said, do you own a black cat? And she says, oh my God, I just put him down yesterday. I says, was his name Jinx? I don't know why I knew the name. She says, we called him Jinxie. His name was Jinxie. I said, well, Jinxie's over there with you right now. He just walked out. And she said, oh, okay. She had nothing to do with the reading. The reading, she was there about a job interview, a job promotion as a police officer. But her cat was still with her.
Wow.
And I thought that was interesting because that had nothing to do with her reading, but it was in her heart. And I think that showed me that I think a lot of the intuition we get is feeling. Nothing to do with job promotions, selling the house. And that's material stuff. You get intuitive about feelings. And that pet cat was with her. And she didn't mention her cat. She was talking about the job. So I think intuition really works well with feelings. It is a feeling. It's not a thinking thing. I don't think you'll ever get winning.
But you saw the cat though. You actually saw the cat. So, I mean, some people would say that would be like mediumship, right?
Well, I'm clairvoyant, but I can't control that. I can't decide, I want to see what's around you. No, sometimes it's there, sometimes it isn't. So yeah, but I think I saw the cat because it was in her heart. Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. So what other superpowers do you have? Is there anything else that's there?
I've been able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. I have out of body now and then, but then again, I can't control that.
Yeah.
Some people can control it. They can say, okay, tonight I'm going to have an astral projection. And I can't. Usually, if you're going to teach astral projection, you're taught to lay on your back, and you come out the front. And astral projection is you're conscious, but you're out of your body, and you could go anywhere. You just think it, and you're gone. You're there, you're like a ghost. And I sleep on my stomach, so I don't project unless I get up in the middle of the night and then go back to sleep. maybe I just happen to fall, go back to sleep, or maybe I'll turn over, roll over or something. If I'm laying on my back, and then that can happen. I might project. And so that happens.
Wow.
I'm clairvoyant, like I said before. And so I live by a hospital, and I've had, plus our house is haunted. This
Oh,
house,
is it?
yeah, the house is, well, I knew this was Linda's house before I met her. So it's a big old Victorian, and it used to be, the hospital was named McNeil Hospital. It's half a block from here. And I got an office the other side of the hospital, right down the street. So sometimes I'll walk from here past the hospital to the office, studio apartment. That's what it is. And then I'll walking back and forth. So there are times where I'll see things around the hospital.
Wow.
And this house used to actually belong to McNeil, the owner of the hospital, before there was a hospital. McNeil was a doctor. So if there were something happened to somebody around the area, they would take them to Dr. McNeil's house. This was 100 years, over 100 years ago. This house is an old house. And so a lot of people probably died here. And it's interesting because there's a lot of, I knew I was going to be here, but that's another whole story. I was getting married, my first marriage. That year I was planning the marriage. I was having a repeating dream. I was with this I was at this old woman's house, big old house. I've never even owned a house. I was like 28 years old. Never owned a house. I'm going back to this house all the time in this dream. And I know it's this old woman's house. I don't know why I'm doing there. And I'm fixing stuff in the house. And then I never see the old woman until the last one I had of the dream, last dream I had. And I was down in the basement of this old house, and the old woman was, her back to me, she's in a nightgown, and her back was to me, and she had white hair. And that's the last time I ever dreamt of that place. And so I got married. 5 years later, we got divorced. It was no big deal. It was fine, but we got divorced. Years later, I met Linda. And Linda has a big old Victorian house.
Mhm.
And we were married for like 11 years. And we decided I'm going to stay at the studio apartment for a while. We were tense with each other. So I'm at the studio apartment. I'm coming here every day, and we're having dinner every day, just going to give ourselves some space. And so there's things I'm doing around the house here. And then I realized one day I was up here fixing a light switch. And I'm thinking, Linda's got white hair. She wears a nightgown every night. And that was who I was seeing. I'm working on this
Yeah.
big old house. I was 28 years old. I'm thinking, what am I doing in this old lady's house? Well, now I'm an old man. And that was my real wife, not my first wife.
Yeah.
I was seeing that it was a repeating dream of my future.
Wow.
And I can't explain that.
Yeah.
But so things like that, whenever I have repeating dreams, I know it means something.
Yeah, you got to pay attention to it.
You can't interpret them. You can't interpret them at the time but when they happen, you can say, okay, that's what that was about. At least I haven't been able to interpret.
Wow. I've never had that experience. I don't really dream. I'm not a dreamer in that way. So, I mean, I dream, but I just don't remember them in that particular way.
Okay.
And I don't know if I can recall ever astral projecting either. I'm sure it happens. It's just not something that
You'll know.
Yeah.
It happens with a lot of people. Sometimes it happens when they have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
Oh.
Because they'll get up and then they'll start walking to the bathroom, and they turn around and look, and they're still in bed. and it scares the shit out of them.
Yeah, that scared the shit out of me too.
Like, I got to get back in there.
Like, what is going on here? I'm having a trip.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if read about astral projection, they call it they they call it shamanism too. Really, it's another
Yeah.
name for shamanism because shamans travel, and that's what you do when you astral project. I've always known about it because my stepfather did it every night. He'd do it voluntarily, and he would sit on the pyramids, on top of the pyramids in Egypt every night.
Wow.
Go sit up there.
I mean, it's neat. It's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it
I
is.
think I'm too much of a chicken, I think.
Well, you can't get stuck out of your body. That's the one thing you can't.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, what to kind of get this wrapped up,
yeah.
what advice do you have for people wanting to get into the tarot? What kind of lasting words do you have for anybody that wants to get into the tarot? Or they're in the beginning stages of it?
Um, keep it simple. I would say keep it simple. Start simple, and you learn by using the cards. Don't learn by books are good, but you're going to learn a lot more by doing the cards. Just like if you want to learn how to ride a bicycle, you don't read a book about it. You get on the bicycle and start riding it. So you want to get. I know professional readers that never read a book on tarot cards,
Wow.
and they read tarot cards. And so I would say spend a lot of time um, getting to know how to read the cards. And I would say that that's a good way to start. And yeah, anybody can do it. And but nothing, but remember, there's no one right way to do it. It's just everybody has their own way. And keep it simple in the beginning. That's all.
Now, I've had this question asked of me. It's come up twice now, actually, in the last couple weeks, of somebody saying, "Hey, how do I become more efficient at reading? I'm doing a reading. And it's taking me 2 to 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours to do a reading for somebody before I send it off. How do I get more efficient? What do I need to do?"
Are they talking about typing or reading? Or
Yeah, so they're typing it up, or maybe they're doing an audio and sending it that way. I'm not really sure exactly how they're delivering it, but they're telling me they're spending 2, 3 hours on a 6 card reading. And I've had a
uh,
couple people now tell me this, and of course, I'm like,
yeah, see that I
like
don't know
that's a
what
long
to.
time.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know what to say with something like that because I know, like, if the way I learned professionally is we were doing face to face then. There
Hmm.
wasn't no internet then, and so it's a 15-minute reading, and you got 15 minutes to because you got somebody else coming after that. So you couldn't dance around with stuff. So as far as something like that, the only thing I'll probably tell them is your time's valuable. Try to find a way to get to the point and send it to them because yeah, you can't spend too much time trying to overdo things and typing things and saying things over and all that. I don't know how to do that kind of reading. I don't do that.
Yeah,
I do phone readings, but that's all. I don't even do Zoom readings,
yeah.
and that's something I should do, but I don't do them.
Well, hey, whatever works for you, man. So
I don't want to do Zooms because then I gotta look nice. Like right now,
yeah,
I'm trying to look, so I could be in my bathrobe doing a reading, and
yeah,
if I'm doing a phone reading, but I also do. I mean, so I could be driving down the street. Somebody called me. I've done this. I got cards in my car. I've actually the phone's ringing. I know the person because they're a steady customer. I'll pull into a parking lot for some grocery store, and I'll read them right there in the car. Just throwing on the passenger seat, throwing the cards over.
mhm.
you know, and I like that.
What do you think about for people that are trying to jump from this reading for their family and their friends to getting into more of a professional world. I've heard some people say the advice, like you're just saying, make sure you have a pack of cards everywhere you go. If you're sitting at the restaurant, have a pack of cards sitting there. Anything that you can do to get yourself out there. What do you think about that?
Well, as far as if you want to try to jump to pro, I think the one thing, the good thing
Yeah,
to keep in mind is remember that you're always there. You're there, you're gonna doubt yourself in the beginning. And remember that you're there to help them. You're there to help that person you're reading. And that helps you stay sincere and believe in yourself, thinking, I'm going to do my best I can to try to help this person find an answer or find answers to their reading. It puts you in the right frame of mind. As far as other things like that, as far as getting yourself out there, that's why I wrote Straight Tarot, How to Survive as a Tarot Reader. It's
I read
about,
that one.
did you
Yeah,
read it?
I did. Yeah.
So, and that's a Kindle. That's right, it's a Kindle as
Hmm.
well. I think any way you can network, I think it's a good idea to try doing festivals, annual festivals, get yourself a pop-up tent, get out there and do, you could even do readings just for tips. If you're not if you're not sure about being a reader, I feel uncomfortable about reading professionally. I would say go to a festival with a pop-up tent, put up a sign says free tarot readings, and put a tip jar on the table.
Yeah.
And you go with a couple of friends, have a good time, and do readings, and you will have a line of people at your tent because it's free. But you put money in that tip jar, like $5, $7 or whatever, some singles. People know then, okay, I'm getting and do 5-minute readings. You're doing 5-minute readings. But people know, thank you. They'll say thank you, and they'll throw a $5 bill or 5. They'll throw money in it, and you'll pay for your 10. You'll make a little extra, and you're getting confidence because you're reading people you never met before, and you don't feel uncomfortable because you're not charging them $50 for this reading. Now I got to make sure that it's really good. No, this is just for fun. It's free. Don't tip me if you don't like it, and you
Hmm.
have a fun time doing it, and you get good at reading strangers.
Yeah, you do. That's kind of like what I do now, through either Instagram Live or TikTok
Okay.
Live. Some people do it on YouTube Live where they'll just do donation-based readings or whatever. And you
Um,
have 40, 50, 60 people sitting in the live and
yeah,
you're just giving readings. Boom, boom, boom. I do that a lot. So,
that's
it's
great.
tiring though. I mean, I can do in a 2-hour period, I can get out 24 readings sometimes. And by the time I'm done with it, I'm done. Like I'm really
Sure, that's a strain. That's a real strain. Sure,
It
right.
is, yeah, but you get really efficient, you get really quick.
Oh yeah. Oh, I
Very
think that's
fast, yeah.
great. I think that's
So,
great.
but it's good practice for people. Absolutely, I agree with you. It's great practice.
It's
And,
fun too. Get a couple of friends, go with you, and have a good time.
all right, well, how do people get a hold of you? How do people
Uh,
get a hold of you for a reading?
right now, I haven't been doing. I've been turning down readings. I mean, I
Really?
read. I have clients. I have study customers I'm reading for. Right now, I haven't been reading, but I can give you two of my websites, tarotmaps.com, which you already know. Well, no, you know the email of that, but tarotmaps.com. You can get in touch with me there, and patishi.com.
Okay. I haven't been to that one.
Okay, patishi.com, and you can get in touch with me there through. And if I can, I'll read you. If I don't get back to you, I'm not avoiding anybody. It's just I haven't. I've been too involved. Just got over my book in December. Now I'm just so tired of doing phone readings. I want to get back into a store again. I got my study clients. I haven't been reading anybody else. I did a couple of private tutoring, mentoring. I got some mentoring going on. But that call and I'll try to. If I can get you in, I'll get you in. That's all.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bonnie. This was wonderful, and I really enjoyed it. And what's your website again?
My website is Illume Soul Medium,
Um,
and I do offer readings on there. But I do them through Zoom. I've had I allow a few people into my home, but I'm very on the fence with that. I know you had talked about that earlier. I just don't know about having other people energy in my I don't know. I'm a little weird about it. So
Now, be careful because I tell you what, we've had people, we used to have people in our home. People will steal stuff out of your home. Now, these are clients.
yeah.
So you don't know where they're coming. I mean, now I'm talking about like a crystal or something. Oh, a crystal ball or something. They take it off the table and they'll put it in their purse. Like
Yeah.
they want a part of you, you know.
No. No, no, no,
No,
no,
I,
no.
always, read about the store. So I
Yeah,
feel
no.
if you're not, are you married?
I am. Yeah. I've been married for 21 years. So,
Okay, all right. Well, it's
yeah.
good you don't live alone. That's good.
No, I don't live alone, but yeah.
But
So the only people I let in my home are people I know really, really, really well. And
okay,
um
well then you know it.
so most of my readings I do now are just gonna be either over the phone or I do Zoom, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but in-person stuff I haven't really been doing lately just because I don't have a place. I shut my store down, so I don't really have a place to be doing that where I live anyways.
Well, you're thinking about you're going to
So
open back up. You think you'll be able to open back up again?
I don't know. I'm thinking about it because I am also a Reiki practitioner, so I do Reiki sessions.
Okay.
And I'm thinking about opening up a little small place with my mom, who's actually a massage therapist. So she's going to be a massage therapist, and she does Reiki. So somewhere we can start seeing clients that way, and then I can start doing tarot readings in person because I miss doing it. I mean, it's a totally different experience doing it in person versus over the phone or even through Zoom. I mean, it's fine, but it is different to be able to sit there face to face with somebody.
Yeah, it is.
So, yeah.
Well, it's funny. I just
So,
threw over two cards for you: four of Pentacles and four of Cups. Two fours, and I see that as the next. I see you, as far as I'm concerned. That's a repeat. You had a
it's
you
a
had a
re-
you had a store.
yeah, I
You had
did.
the brick and mortar, and I think that you'll have that again. It might be a space of 4 years from when it happened to when you start a new store again, but it's already been a year. It might take another year to figure out where you want to be, and then the third
Hmm.
year you're setting the place up. But I think within the fourth year you will be steady. You will be in business again within 4 years of when this pandemic started or when you closed
Yeah.
up. And it
It
probably,
wouldn't surprise me if that happens.
yeah, you'll be in business. You'll have it again.
Yeah.
If you had it
Uh,
once, you're gonna want to do it
well, yeah, that's the thing. Once you're an entrepreneur, it's really hard to give that up.
again.
And I mean, I could definitely never work for somebody else, that's for sure. And I'm very fortunate in my life that I have a very good spouse that takes care of me.
Well, yeah, you're in a good situation. And
Yeah.
the same with me, it worked out good because we were both readers.
Hmm.
So it was a time in our life where where we could get by with doing that. If you're somebody who's single, a single mother with two kids, and you want to be a reader, it's be pretty tough
That would
because
be tough.
yeah, because you're gonna need some more support. If you're living with
Yeah.
with your parents or something, then you can do it. But there are people out there. You're in a good position, like you say, to do what you want to do. Some people are not in a good position. If they're not, then what they need to do is get some assistance with,
Try to figure it out.
yeah, with family or something.
Well, that's good to hear because I have a lot of things going right now. So I'm one of those people though that I'm always have my hands into something. So right now I do online tarot classes that I have up. I'm doing this. I have all kinds of stuff going. I'm writing a book.
Are you good?
Giving myself a good amount of time to get that done though, like a
I
good
said,
year.
are you doing a novel or is it fiction or nonfiction?
No, it's on the tarot. I'm doing a
Okay,
book on the tarot. Yeah, that's why
published
I
on
said
Amazon.
huh? Published
Published
on
on
Amazon?
Amazon. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
love
I
it.
think I'm going to. I don't know. I'm a ways out from that point. So I've written maybe 80, 90 pages so far. I have a ways to go.
Have
So
fun with it. have fun with it,
Yeah.
and you'll be glad you did it.
I think so. I've always talked about it. I've always talked about being an author and writing, and I don't know if I'm particularly good at it, but I'm going to do it anyways.
I have a feeling you are. I have a feeling you are, and I bet you have a lot to offer.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, and it's been wonderful talking with you on this, and I hope our paths will cross again.
Well, yeah, I'll jump into your get together. When is the next
Okay.
one?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. All right.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
jump in on there.
Okay,
Hopefully I don't
yeah.
have anything else going.
Tuesday, I'm looking at the calendar. I think that's the 9th. But yeah, but yeah, this has been fun, and yeah, Tuesday the 9th.
Tuesday the 9th. All right, I'll pop in. I won't be so shy next time.
Okay, all right. No, it's been really fun, and thank you, Bonnie, for inviting me to do this, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, absolutely. All right, have a great day. Thank you so much.
You take care and have a good day too.
All right, bye.
Okay, goodbye.